You meet someone at a party. 5 minutes later, you could draw their face from memory. Their name is already gone. You smile and hope nobody asks you to introduce them. This happens to almost everyone, almost every time. But the real answer is far stranger than bad memory. Your brain is not broken. It is doing exactly what it evolved to do. Think about that face for a second. The shape of the eyes, the way the mouth moved when they laughed. You didn't try to memorize any of it. It just stuck. Now think about the name. You heard it once, maybe twice, and it slipped straight through your hands like water. Why does one stick and the other doesn't? Psychologist Deborah Burke spent years studying exactly this gap. She found that proper names are processed differently than almost any other kind of word in your vocabulary. A common noun like baker connects to dozens of other ideas in your mind. Bread, flour, ovens, early mornings. Each of those connections is a thread your brain can pull on to find the word again. But a name like Baker, the surname, connects to nothing. It's an island. One person, one thread, no backup. This is sometimes called the Baker-Baker paradox. Two people are shown the exact same photo of a stranger. One group is told the man's job is Baker. The other group is told his last name is Baker. Same word, same sound. Totally different memory outcome. The people who learned it as a job remembered it far more often than the people who learned it as a name. Why? Because a job description gives your brain a web to hang on to. A name gives it a single strand. Now compare that to a face. A face isn't one piece of information. It's hundreds, arriving all at once and processed by a part of your brain built almost entirely for this one purpose. Deep in the temporal lobe, just behind your ear, sits a region called the fusiform face area. Researchers Vicky Bruce and Andy Young mapped out how this system works back in the 1980s, and later brain imaging confirmed it. This region lights up specifically, powerfully, and almost instantly whenever a human face appears in front of you. Not objects, not text, faces. Here's what's wild. This part of your brain is so specialized that it can tell identical twins apart in a fraction of a second, even when the rest of your mind can't consciously explain how. You're not thinking wider nose, slightly higher left eyebrow. Your brain is doing that math instantly, unconsciously, and handing you a finished answer. That's him. That's her. I know this person. Why would evolution build something this powerful just for faces? Because for most of human history, recognizing a face correctly could save your life. Picture a small group of early humans, maybe 30 or 40 people, moving together across a landscape full of danger. Every face in that group mattered. Is this person part of my tribe? Someone who will share food and stand beside me in a fight? Or is this a stranger? Someone whose intentions I don't know. Getting that judgment right and getting it fast wasn't a nice bonus. It was survival. A split-second misread of a threatening stranger as a friend, or a friend as a threat, could end badly either way. Names, on the other hand, barely existed as a survival tool. In small ancestral groups, you didn't need a name to identify someone. You already recognized their face, their walk, their voice, their smell. A name was almost decorative. Useful for communicating about someone who wasn't there, sure, but not urgent. Not wired into the same ancient threat detection circuitry as a face. So your brain built a super highway for faces and left names on a dirt road. There's another layer to this too. Faces carry enormous amounts of automatic, involuntary information. A raised eyebrow, a tightened jaw, the way someone's eyes crinkle right before they laugh. You read all of this without effort. Constantly, your whole life, starting from the time you were a newborn staring up at your mother. Newborns just hours old already show a preference for face-like patterns over random shapes. That circuitry isn't something you build through school or practice. It's closer to something you're born already running. A name has none of that texture. It's just sound, arbitrary sound, attached to a person by pure social convention. There is nothing about the sound Michael that connects biologically to the person standing in front of you. It could just as easily be David, or Samir, or Wei. The link between sound and person is invented, not innate, and invented links are always more fragile than wired-in ones. This is also why you can recognize someone's face across huge amounts of change. 20 years later, 50 pounds heavier or lighter, a completely different haircut, glasses, no glasses. Your brain still often gets there. Meanwhile, you can know someone's name for years and still blank on it the moment you're tired, distracted, or meeting them somewhere unexpected, like your dentist showing up at the grocery store. That last part matters more than people realize. Context is doing a huge amount of the work you think your memory is doing on its own. You reliably recognize your coworker's face at your workplace. Put that same face behind the counter of a coffee shop across town, and for a second, you might genuinely struggle to place them. Nothing is wrong with your memory in that moment. Your brain is missing the contextual thread it normally rides in on. So what can you actually do with all of this? Knowing the mechanism gives you a shortcut. Instead of fighting your brain's wiring, work with it. When you meet someone new, don't just hear their name. Attach it to something. Turn the isolated island into a connected web. The same way Baker the job beats Baker the surname. If you meet a woman named Rose, picture an actual rose pinned to her jacket. If you meet a man named Frank, imagine him being unusually, almost comically frank and blunt. It feels a little silly. It works because it's giving an arbitrary sound the same kind of rich, multi-threaded connection that a face gets for free. Repetition helps too, but not passive repetition. Saying a name back once, right when you hear it, forces a small window of active processing. Your brain doesn't get if you just nod along. Nice to meet you, Rose. That's it. That one sentence roughly doubles your odds of holding onto it later. There's something almost comforting in understanding this. For most of your life, forgetting a name probably felt like a small personal failure, a gap in your character. But it isn't. It's a fingerprint of your evolutionary history. Showing up in a modern conference room or a crowded party, your brain didn't forget because it's careless. It forgot because for a few 100,000 years, names were never the thing standing between you and survival. Faces were. So the next time you meet someone at a party, and their face locks in instantly while their name slides away 5 seconds later, don't be embarrassed. That gap isn't a flaw in you. It's a map of what actually mattered to the people who came before you, still quietly running the show behind your eyes.